Ejigbo joins us. He's the chairman of Yaba Local. That's LCDA.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very
Let's
much.
get your thought before we delve into this review of some of the big stories that made the headlines in the 2013. I'm sure, I guess, you must have seen that video, have you?
Of course, yes.
And then the chairman of Ejigbo LCDA said, look, this happened in February.
February this year.
This year.
About 9 months ago.
How did you react when you saw it?
Well, I wouldn't want to say much because I'm not privy to the actual thing that happened. I watched the video, and nobody can tell me that that video is not correct. But however, since the Lagos State Assembly has waded in, and they have promised to have a committee to look into it, let's wait until that committee comes up with whatever thing.
But should we entirely leave it to the committee? After all, this happened in February. The committee was not aware. Nothing happened up till today.
Well, one might not be able to be precise.
That's
one
what the chairman of
has to be very
LCDA
careful because the chairman of LCDA, I've not heard him spoken. Somebody quoted him.
Somebody who he told.
Of course, if he has said that until that time, I don't always like to dabble into an affair which I don't know much about it. So that's just my point.
Yeah, but tell us a little, though, about the market structure. When things like that happen in a market, even under your own LCDA, do you think that it will be easy to find the perpetrators? Just give us an idea of
in the market
if there is a
setting,
jungle, if there's a justice system within the market.
In the market setting, they have their own rules and regulations. And they have market committee and their own executive council. What if anything happened within the market? It is the responsibility of the head of the market to look into it and resolve amicably. Where it is not possible, they can report to the police, and the police will take it up and do justice to it. So if they have not done that, that means the market committee, they are also going to be blamed. Whether they have been reported to them or not, I wouldn't know. But as far as the market is concerned, that is the procedure.
Okay. And the markets fall under the local government,
of course,
I
yes.
believe.
Of course,
so
yes.
Definitely the local government should have an idea of things that are happening in the market. What's the reporting system like? No,
the chairman of the Iyaloja and Babaloja, we have to report.
There's Babaloja too?
Yes, there's a Babaloja and there's Iyaloja. Right. So they will report to the officers in charge of the market in the local council.
Okay.
That person will now inform the council manager. The council manager will inform the chairman of the council or the secretary to the local government.
So the information might have been lost in transit.
Oh, no, it's not possible. It's not possible.
So, but, I mean, pardon me, I was just wondering, I mean, this happened. We've seen others happen in different parts of the country. I mean, why are you surprised that this kind of thing is still happening? Is there any such sensitization that, no, you shouldn't be doing this kind of thing? Well, in a civilized society.
It's not everybody that is enlightened. It's not everybody that knows the right from wrongs. So if you expect something negative to happen at any sector.
No, but we have leaders who are enlightened.
But the most one thing is that, how did this thing happen? That is the most one thing. If you have not looked into it and you want somebody to judge what has happened, that person might not be do justice to what has happened. But that's why I said and I suggested that it's very important for the council chairman and others to appear before the House Committee in the Lagos State Assembly for clarity. It is that time we will now know what and how we are going to delve into that issue.
You know why we are dabbling into this issue a little, even though you don't want to comment on that specific issue, is because, you know, markets generally are places where jungle justice can happen. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever experienced...
Jungle justice can happen anywhere in Nigeria.
Yes, but we all know what can happen if someone just shouts only in a market, for instance, you know. Are we making any attempt to educate, especially the market women and market people, that jungle justice is not allowed, is not permissible under our laws?
Of course, yes. We have been able to do that. We do have stakeholders with market men and women in the various local governments. But that does not mean somebody cannot take law into his hand. It doesn't mean.
Do we also have mechanisms in place that, you know, will check those people?
There's always
whenever it is that people take laws into their hands, they are taught a lesson that is not how to proceed.
Of course, even the market men and women, the associations, yes. they also have their own punishment for that. So since this thing has been taken up by the entire country, I know that thing we cannot just die like that.
Okay.
It can't.
Okay, so you're optimistic that, look,
Of course, yes. Of course,
we'll
yes.
see the light of the day.
Of course, by God's grace.
Okay, let's get down to this letters everywhere matter. And then coming from one former president to the 7th president, and then another one said to have come from the former president's daughter, and I'm not sure who knows what next now. But are you in any way thinking that, look, maybe this is aimed for developmental purposes, or is it for political witch hunting?
Well, to me, I think it's aimed. Let me just use your word. It's aimed for developmental purposes.
Or, I said, or political witch hunter. I used two.
No, I don't.
You choose one.
I don't want to dampen into a political issue. Developmental.
But the politicians writing it.
That is general thing that happen to all of us, whether you're a politician or not, whether you're a journalist. Developmental purpose is the major thing, the ultimate, as far as this country is concerned.
Should be the ultimate.
It's the ultimate.
But in most cases, it's not the ultimate.
No, it's the ultimate. Whether it's in most cases it does not be ultimate or not, but that's what should be. That is what it should be. Because
so how does this letter bring about development? Or these letters, how do they bring about development?
We have mentioned letters. Fine. Letters from the former head of state, the person that has been the chairman of Board of Trustee, PDP, former president of the nation, to the present president, the current president. It's acceptable and it's allowed under the rules and regulations, under the law, under the constitution, under the democratic setting. Somebody like me might not be able to do that. Wow. If I've done that, by now I've been taken up.
Do you
now call me to come and substantiate. One cannot expect Obasanjo to write a letter without having one or two things to prove.
I'm very happy that you're at least a leader in your own capacity.
Of course,
you're
yes.
the chairman of a local government development area. How would you feel if your predecessor is writing a letter to you, an open letter at that, you know, alleging that you're doing certain things which probably you might not be doing, or things which you are really doing? How would you feel about that?
The government we are running is for the public.
Yes.
It shouldn't be secret. If my president writes letter to me,
yes.
I will gladly accept it.
An open letter.
And I will not take, yes, whether it is open or secret, I even prefer open letter, so that it cannot be swept under the carpet. This one that has been written, how long do you think Obasanjo and Jonathan have been talking or discussing? Have you ever heard of anything about them before? With this letter, it has pronounced so many things. And a lot of that they proclaimed, whether wrongly or rightly.
Is that fair? I mean,
it's fair. It's fair in democratic settings.
Just a moment. You know, you have pointed out that whether wrongly or rightly, so there are rooms for, there is room for misconception and error.
Of course.
And you know how it is that when something is out there, if you call somebody a thief, even if the person is proved innocent tomorrow, all the people usually remember that that person was once called a thief.
Yeah, but they've not said an alleged.
No.
An allegation.
Well, you do know that there is nowhere that that person would enter, that whispers will not follow that person.
Of course,
you know how it is.
Of course.
So do you think that this is a fair criticism? That very first letter was written by President Obasanjo. Do you think it was fair?
Well, yeah, to me,
yes,
it's fair. Why? It was an open letter, an appeal to the president before it is too late. That's a material question. We must not sweep it away. An appeal to the president before it is too late. Those are material things we must look into. When you now go into the in-depth and see details of the letters, so many things have been mentioned.
Yeah, but if you look at that letter and the tone of that letter, here we are initially talking about what we refer to as jungle justice, so that people don't go with this mob action. Yes. Did you see in that letter from the former president to the current president saying, well, yes, these allegations, although this is what I think, but I have referred these allegations to the police for investigation, so that we disabuse our minds from this mob action mentality?
That is why it is very important for the security operatives to come in and do justice to the whole
Even
thing.
though there was no reference to them in that letter that, look, I have referred this, I'm not accusing you, but this is what I think is going on. Prove me right or wrong.
If I were the president, what I will do is to inform the security operative. He's now the current chief security officer of the entire nation. It's the GCFR.
So the former president had no responsibility informing the police of the security?
No, it's possible. No,
but I'm asking you, should he have?
Of course, yes. He can. He has the right to do that under the law.